Hello everyone, I'm Chibu, and I've been posting my webcomic, The Quest to Find Pinkman, on Webtoon Canvas for over a year now. And with this new Webtoon 2025 contest coming up, I've seen a lot more people become interested in making their own webtoon. So I decided, why not make a video and go over some helpful tips for getting started? Even though I may not have much experience as others, I could still share the things I've learned so far. Who knows, maybe if my tips help you, you could leave a comment and tell me about your webtoon. Helping and getting to know other webcomic artists sounds fun. So without further ado, let's get started. Number 1. What genre best matches your story? When creating a webtoon, you will be asked what kind of genre you would like your comic to be displayed as. There's romances and fantasy romances like Heartstopper and Lore Olympus, actions like The Lone Necromancer, or comedies like Blue Chair. These all have their perks, and I'm sure you can see your characters fitting into any one of them. So why not just pick the one that sounds most popular, or sounds easiest, and get to work? Listen to me. It is imperative that you do not do this. Let me explain why this is so important. Let's say you have these characters who exist in an epic fantasy world, and you've always imagined them going on some grand adventure. Tell me, would it make a whole lot of sense if you decided to make your story a slice-of-life comedy genre? Of course not, you say. Who would be dumb enough to do that? Well, guy, you're looking at him. That's right. Before I started working on my current webcomic, I thought it was a real good idea to try to make a cute slice-of-life comedy about my characters' lives after they went on the big adventure. I realized that a lot of why I loved my story enough to make it a comic in the first place was that it was a big fantasy adventure, with dramatic character arcs and epic monster fights. Which leads me to my next point. Number 2. If you're not passionate about it, don't make it. Listen to me. Unless you've been doodling these characters for a while, and imagining animatics of them to your favorite songs, you're probably not going to be able to make an entire comic about them. Making a whole story requires these characters to take up like 50% of your brain space minimum, or else you're going to get bored, and then what do you have to motivate you drawing these pages? Specifically for this contest, Webtoon wants 3 episodes up front with 40 panels each. That's like 120 fully colored illustrations. Not to mention you have to write all the dialogue and format the panels so that everything flows together and isn't completely incoherent. It requires dedication, and all that hard work is a lot more worth it when you love the story you're making. Number 3. Begin with the end in mind. It's a really smart thing to plan ahead when it comes to storytelling, unless you're trying out for the most laughs category. You don't want to just show your characters going about their lives for no reason. These first 3 episodes should be an introduction and a setup for the rising action into the climax, and then the ending. So if you don't know what your ending is, it's going to be really hard to make a beginning. Think about some shows' pilots, or first episodes compared to their finales. At the start of The Owl House, for example, we are treated to Luz Nocida's book report, which features a good witch facing off in an epic battle against a bad guy. While in the beginning, Luz is just a neurodivergent kid who doesn't fit in the mundane world she lives in, by the end of the series, she herself is a good witch, facing off against a bad guy to bring peace and freedom to the kingdom we were introduced to in the very first episode as one being overtaken by a fascist regime.
Oh, no, I'm not a cat. Also, I'm not a criminal.
Not yet, you're not.
Neither are we. The stupid warden likes to lock people up who don't fit in. Like, I write fanfics of food falling in love. I like food, I like love. Just let me write about it.
Seriously, the earlier you know how you want your story to end, the earlier you can start planting those seeds, which will not only serve as clever foreshadowing, but will also give your audience an idea of what they're getting into. Number 4. Art style. Now, hear me out on this one. You might be thinking that this really doesn't even need to be a tip. You could just use the art style that you always draw in. But even though you may not expect it, what art style you choose can have a huge impact on your comic. There are so many tiny little factors all to do with your art style, from your experience to your audience's, so let me school you on this one. From your perspective, your art style is how you're going to navigate the creation process. If you have more of a sketchy art style, where you don't really focus on leaving closed lines, it's going to be time-consuming to color because you can't just use your fill bucket tool and get out. In my experience, the process of coloring by hand can be fun in real life, but on a computer, it's not nearly as satisfying and takes forever. So if you don't want to have to deal with all that for all your 120 panels, especially with the deadlines of the contest, I implore you to choose an art style that's easy to color in. This also goes for what opacity your line art is at. If you like using that pencil tool that goes a little opaque when you're drawing with it because it looks softer than a hard, solid brush, that is going to be a pain in the neck to color in. For the audience, they may not see the excruciating effort you go through to draw just a single panel, but they sure do see the end product. And if your romance story is featuring two little cartoon blobs who don't even look like they know what sex is, do you really think that's going to excite your audience in the way another romance webtoon with cute anime girls and handsome dudes with their abs out does? I can assure you, it will not. So, choose an art style that not only suits your needs as a creator, but also try to choose an art style that will convey your message to the audience. Number 5. First impressions are key. We live in a world where time is everything. And if you're not giving someone a reason to invest their time in 3.5 seconds or less, they're gone. They've already swiped away onto the next thing. That's why you need your first episode, nay, your first page, to snatch your reader's attention and get them invested ASAP. The very first thing your reader will notice is visuals. If your art is crappy, the chances they'll stick around are very low. So make your comic very appealing to the eye first and foremost. Yeah, I know, what a tip. Don't draw like shit. That's very helpful. So they've just seen how pretty your comic looks. Now they're interested. They decide to keep reading. That's great, but you still don't have them just yet. They aren't going to sit around and wait for your pretty drawings to do something intriguing. You have to show them that shit right now. If you've taken any class on presentations and public speaking, you should know how important it is to have a good attention grabber. If your story is an action, throw them into a cool fight first thing. If it's a romance, give us hot people making out. If it's a thriller, show us your characters in a shocking, or thrilling, situation and have us asking questions. For all of these, you want your readers to be asking enough questions that they'll keep reading to have them answers, but have enough answers right off the bat to not feel completely lost. I'm going to make an example of another animated show that I like, Has Been Hotel. Specifically the pilot, Has Been got so many views, like millions if I'm not mistaken, and I was one of those many viewers who desperately wanted to see Has Been become a show. But why? Because Has Been's pilot gave an interesting premise that let the audience's mind wonder. And it also gave fun characters who the audience could speculate on and use the pieces they have already to try and put something together. But with an incomplete puzzle, audiences wanted more of the show so that they could get more answers, which is what I describe as officially hooked. So remember, grab your audience's attention right away, but don't stop there. Keep adding hooks and points of interest throughout your first 3 episodes the audience will want elaborated on in future episodes, and your readers will surely come back for more. Which will be great for you, not only because it's motivating to have people who really want to see what happens next in your story, but also because audience approval will be half the battle in the upcoming Webtoon 2025 contest. So, those were my 5 tips for starting your new Webtoon. Were they helpful? Is there anything else you'd like advice on? If you want me to read your Webtoon and give tips specific to you, or if you just have questions on your future Webtoon, don't be afraid to ask in the comments below or contact me on my socials linked in the description. Catch you later, dudes!